Today we're talking about tokenism, ladies and gents. Get yourself a comfy chair, take some popcorn, maybe a nice beer, enjoy as I jabber incessantly for however many minutes this is going to take for me to get my point across. Let the demonetization process begin!
Just to make a note, Mr. Chairman, just because someone has a person of color, a black person working for them, does not mean they aren't racist. And it is insensitive that someone even say it's the fact that someone would actually use a prop, a black woman, in this chamber, in this committee, is alone racist in itself. Donald Trump is setting
Mr. Chairman, I ask that her words be taken down.
President, I reclaim my time.
Mr. Chairman,
setting a precedent.
Mr. Chairman,
the highest office can be
Mr. Chairman, the rules are clear.
Cover up and hold on to business assets to break campaign finance laws and constitutional clauses. What we have here, Mr. Chairman, is criminal conduct in the pursuit of the highest public office by Mr. Cohen and Individual 1. I hope that the gravity of this situation hits everyone in this body and in Congress and across this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield the rest of my time.
Rashida Tlaib told Representative Meadows that using a black Trump employee as a prop to show Trump isn't racist was a racist act in itself. He responded by demanding her words be struck from the record, nearly in tears. So that's the basic synopsis of what's going on here, and I have to say, the "but my black friend," sure, it's a lazy man's way of dismissing an equally lazy accusation of racism, because, let's be honest, it is. But calling it racism in turn, I mean, now we're just throwing the same stick back and forth at each other, hoping that eventually someone's eye gets poked out. You're 5, right? I would think that there are more important things that our nation's leaders could be busying themselves with, but nope. And that would have been the end of this video. Gloriously short, less than a minute long, and succinct, certainly, if the rest of this interaction over Twitter hadn't happened as a result. Total bravery from @Rashida Tlaib as she reminds the nation that tokenism is racism. Stunning and brave. Calling someone a racist in 2019, stunning and brave. To which someone else responded, "How many black people are your staff?" Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez responds back with, "We have black staff. We don't parade them around to show the world how diverse our team is and use that as some kind of evidence of the absence of racism. That's what tokenism is." By that definition, then I guess this image of the State of the Union address where all of the female Democrats are wearing white, parading around the fact that we have this many women in our politics, well, Democratic politics, is tokenism. Look at how not sexist the Democratic Party is, everybody. Take a look-see. It's right there. It's obvious, plain for all to see. And then, what of this controversy that's been propagated by Brie Larson surrounding the promotion for the Captain Marvel movie?
I'm just saying we need to be conscious of our bias and do our part to make sure that everyone is in the room. I want to know what that film meant to women of color, to biracial women, to teen women of color, to teens that are biracial.
Oh my, look at how not racist Brie Larson is. I'm being interviewed by women of color. How not racist of me. Look at how not racist I am, people. And then remember when the BBC decided to regenerate the 13th Doctor into a woman figure? Hey guys, guess what? The BBC ain't sexist. They let a woman take the mantle of badass Time Lord this time. And of course, we can't forget about the apex of tokenism. Black Panther. Yes, I know I said it. I'm waiting for the assassins to enter my room right now, but while I wait, does it count as tokenism? Hey guys, look at how diverse our Avengers lineup is now. We have an entire movie dedicated to just black people. I'm done joking now. Let's back it up here for a second. For the people who are unaware, some vocabulary for your troubles. Tokenism is the practice of making only a perfunctory or symbolic effort to do a particular thing, especially by recruiting a small number of people from underrepresented groups in order to give the appearance of sexual or racial equality within a workforce. Now, I don't really care about the interaction that the representatives had on the floor necessarily as much as I do about the conversation as a whole that we're about to have. Let me get into this. Tokenism is such an everything and anything term nowadays, thrown around willy-nilly like racism, or the word literally, which is literally used literally all of the literal time. I can justify tokenism's application to literally anything that includes a minority based off of what I, the individual, me, Weebo, think is perfunctory, quote-unquote, or merely symbolic, or what I perceive as doing so in order to appear racially and sexually equal in the eyes of everyone else. And I can do this regardless of what the creators, the hiring managers, the what-have-yous are, fancy individuals say that their actual motives are, regardless of what the level of adequacy is brought to the table in a performance by a black actor, or regardless of what a woman is used for in a business. Because the question of what is tokenism is a highly subjective one. If you actually look at what people use as a justification for crying tokenism, and I'm going to use an example that I personally wouldn't call tokenism, but which has been described as such. My favorite show of all time, the CW's The 100, is guilty of tokenism of the highest order, up the wazoo from what the wiki sphere has reported, back to me at least, from what I've looked up. This is Lincoln, and he is a scary half-black man who's only humanized by his relationship with an innocent white girl. Of course, this is only if you're ignoring the fact that his character itself was actually pivotal in establishing a bridge between his own people, seen here as savage aggressors of all races and creeds in the show, and the 100 band, a bunch of scared little kids of all races and creeds who happen to fall from the sky in episode 1.
But turn yourselves in,
or the other grounded prisoners will die in your place.
No, wait. I can't let them die because of me.
Lincoln, please. We're almost out.
This is Raven Reyes, and she is nothing but a switch flip character between hypersexualized and torture victim.
I looked up your file. You're the youngest zero-G mechanic on the Ark in 50 years. 52, but...
Of course, that is only if we are so conveniently forgetting the fact that Raven is also a super mechanic genius person that has been the hero of the day countless times, people. Through thick and thin, she has been their saving grace. Quite literally. It's the things that people ignore for their own narratives, I swear. And then what about LGBT relationships? Because we need the trifecta here. Between Clark and Lexa during the show, this was so unceremoniously ended when Lexa was killed off. I think this is a trope actually that has been perpetuated in LGBT cinema or representation. It's such a common thing to have one of an LGBT couple get killed off that it created all this outrage. I mean, how dare they kill off this lesbian character who was also divinely selected to be the political head of 12 constantly warring clans, by the way, don't you know? And in order to, by the way, get that political position, Lexa had to literally kill off the other members of her conclave to prove her worth. But her snatch-eating ability and tropism and her tokenism is the most notable thing about her. If you were to read the criticisms of the show of this character arc, apparently. And yes, I will concede that one of the only true black characters, Wells Jaha, dying off in season 1 was a fucking goddamn shame. No doubt about it. But it's not because he was black, it's actually because the authors, the creators, the writers, they missed out on such an interesting character-driven development and plot that was just ripe for the taking, and then they just killed it off. Of course, it had a whole different direction that it went off in, and I don't know if that arc was necessarily worth it, but it happened. But I would add, in a show where the entire premise of the show surrounds the fact that the characters are facing near-apocalyptic catastrophe damn near every season, all of the goddamn time, someone hyper-focusing on the underlying implications of what happens to these individual characters in the story arc, in their own story arc, being the result of tokenism attached to their races, their genders, their sexuality is rather short-sighted, methinks, at least. For some reason, the fan frothing at the mouth at the fact that a character isn't being treated with a kid glove has forgotten that everything in this entire goddamn show is all taking place in a reality that already focuses on the relationship between in-groups and out-groups. Xenophobia, how those lines between groups can be blurred or obliterated or solidified based on circumstances alone, and how that hyper-focusing on which side you identify with is overall catastrophic to everyone as a whole. As in world-ending catastrophic, people. This show literally argues against what it is you're getting pissy about. Christ, you numbskulls. My point is, you can't satisfy everyone, alright? Shows are going to cast minority members. They're going to take elements from real life because real life people have sexualities that differ from heterosexuality. Believe it or not. Yeah. Real people are not all one race. Real people are not all one gender. So they are going to take elements from the real world and apply them to their shows, but not necessarily with the same intensity that you want them to. What I mean by this is, if you want your diversity, the writers are not going to focus all of their attentions on satiating every instance and element and aspect of what it means to be in that diversity group, just because you want them to not be a token character, okay? Because not everyone's life, not everyone's existence revolves around that identity aspect. There's so much more to humanity. There's so much more to the characters in this show, by the way, too, than their sexuality, their race, their gender, or what the fuck ever. Because it doesn't matter. Not when the world is about to die. You got bigger problems, people! Maybe it's just that you're paying too much attention and you're hyper-focusing on those inconsequential identities of the individual character that has so much more to them than their race and their gender and their sexuality. You're not seeing the bigger picture. You either have that diversity and you tell a good story. You don't have that diversity and you still tell a good story. This isn't a phenomenon that's just unique to the 100, by the way. It's a problem unilateral across the board. But it's the best example that I can give you since it's the one I'm most familiar with. You could probably come up with your own shenanigans from fandoms that you frequented from time to time, because they exist. For whatever reason, people think that these aspects of an identity matter more than the identity as a whole, the person, the character, who it is that you're telling a story about. And bring it back to the real world. I gotta bring up that it's a very sad existence that someone must have. If you can look at a black person in real life or on TV and in whatever circumstance that you don't happen to agree with, and your first thought is, my goodness, they're being paraded around as a token! In addition, how sad is it that we live in a reality where a defense against ad homs is subsequently dismissed as just more of said ad hom? Is that not just ridiculous? As if they have no free will of their own, no autonomy to decide for themselves where they exist and what capacity they exist. As if they've been brainwashed by the person that you think is propping them up as a token. As if they have no voice of their own in a country where the First Amendment secures that irrefutably. And you have the gall to call out racism. Bitch, please. If you like what I'm doing here, feel free to check out the links in the description to my Amazon, Subscribestar, Patreon, PayPal, and the link to my Redbubble store where you can find unique exclusive Weebo merchandise. My P.O. box can also be found below if you'd like to send me stuff in the mail. Please consider leaving a like, a comment, sharing the video, and subscribing to the bell for more. If you want to see more of me in a different capacity, I have a second channel called Weebo Incognito, dedicated to ripping apart all things entertainment. I do a LARPy comedy stream show called Side Quest over on Magog of Morscar's livestream channel, and stop back here every Sunday, 7:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Two Girls, One Stream. Also subscribe to SDA's channel so you don't miss the Wednesday show, same time. Links to all that jazz down in the description down below.